Welcome to Red Zone Sports Week 8. Boys, it's going to be a good week. It's Halloween. It's spooky season. I don't know. This is my first Halloween as a dad. Me and my son are both dressing up as dinosaurs. We got to try out our costumes tonight, and he's a little mini dinosaur, and I'm a giant dinosaur. And Halloween's completely changed for me. It's a really fun time, just dressing up your kid, humiliating him. I'm having a blast. So I don't know. I'm all high spirits. I'm ready for this week. Football. How you guys feeling?
Look at this guy, Mr. Glass half full positive. I don't really like it.
Hey, I did win a showdown tonight. I ended up winning like $30 on a $10 room. I came in the top 300 out of I don't know, a couple thousand people.
You can't say you won it. You don't preface it like that. I thought you took down like a massive room or something.
I won for myself. Okay. My spirits are high. I won money. It's more money in the bank to play on Sunday. This is what matters. Just keep piling it up.
Keep building. Keep building. Yeah, feel good. Jim was just saying, huge slate here. A lot of games. Let's
definitely a weird one, right? So we've had a bunch of buys last week and now none. So everyone's back in play. We got some people back healthy again. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting week. I'm going to the Niners game, so hopefully they don't shit the bed for a third week in a row and get blown out.
Yeah, but we have a few games with some weather potential here. It's going to get a little spicy this weekend. I like it.
I'm going to need Vinnie, the meteorologist, on this one. I have not seen one weather report for this Sunday, so just call me out if I pick a quarterback and you're like, Joey, it's full
it's early.
Thunderstorm, hurricane, hailing.
No,
I need to know this information.
It's early. It's looking like the Northeast might get hit with some rain. I'm not even going to look at wind or anything until Saturday night. But
yeah, from everything that I've looked at, there's nothing that would
stop
super
me
from playing guys.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Luckily,
really
I don't really have interest in the passing games in those two games. So we're good to go. Let's rock and roll.
Vinny, the quarterback, man. How many quarterbacks do you like this week?
I've got
26 options. Ooh,
5
out of 26 options.
I was expecting at least 9.
Nope, 5 quarterbacks. Wow. A lot of running backs.
All right. Well, so how about the top 3 guys, 8,100 to 84? Who's your guy in that range this week?
For me, it's going to be Jalen Hurts. Washington simply cannot stop the pass. The last time these two teams squared off, what was the total score in that game? 34-31. AJ Brown went absolutely bananas. What's Jim?
Washington won, didn't they?
No, it was close. Philadelphia pulled it out. But they're going on the road to Washington here. I just think Washington can't stop the pass. I think they've given up the most passing plays over 20 yards this season. That's not good with A.J. Brown coming to town and his fellow comrades. So I like Jalen Hurts. Philadelphia looks like that train's rolling there. I like Jalen Hurts up top if I'm going there.
Yeah, it kind of seems like the Washington team. Their whole team looks like they're quitting. What's that look, Jim?
There's just maybe I'm in a hotel right now, and there was what appears to be a stampede outside my hotel room. It just was a little jarring, so sorry about that.
I'd like to report a murder.
I'm just going to stay in my room.
All right, guy.
But yeah,
stay focused.
And you look at it too, right? Like the New York Giants were having some down the field passing plays versus these guys last week. So if that's what's going to happen,
I think Washington is quitting. If you heard Allen last week after the game, he was just I'm tired. He said the F word 12 times in a 30-second span of how irritated he is with this team.
Yeah.
They're talking about Chase Young and Sweat being traded. I mean, this team might be in the full mode of tanking any moment now. And this could be the game that, the straw that breaks the camel's back. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's probably a great play, man.
That's my favorite guy over 8K in that range right there. What about you guys? Anyone else that you like there?
Jim, take it.
I mean, every week that Mahomes is on the slate, I'm just going to play Mahomes. It worked out great for me last week. A few of my ancillary pieces didn't quite get there, but it was a highly profitable week, specifically because I jammed Mahomes and Kelsey everywhere that I possibly could. I'm going to do the same this week. It's just we talk about all the time looking for the consolidated offenses. Here it is. You could play Mahomes with a very limited amount of people. I know a lot of people are not comfortable overstacking games, so Mahomes is your guy. The price disparity between them is not massive. So, I mean, I know Lamar had a massive game last week. Good for him. I'm just going to play Mahomes. I think Mahomes has a higher overall ceiling. Denver's defense is Denver's defense. They're trading away players as fast as they possibly can.
I like what you said, too. It's going to be a lot lower owned than last week as well because there's a lot of good pay-up options, right? So it's going to spread out that ownership.
So quarterback ownership, don't worry about it. Play who you want.
No, I'm talking about like Kelsey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it helps us that we have more games this week, right? And
Totally.
Again, everyone always tries to go hunt for value and where can I find the value and all that shit. And it's just like, dude, play the guys who just jam the guys who you know are going to get the volume, right? And if Kelsey is going to continue to be like, 12, 13%, I'll have so many lineups with Mahomes and Kelsey, it won't even be funny. That's where I'm at. Joe, are you going to the other guy we didn't mention or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like paying up for quarterbacks. I mean, it's got to be just like the most beautiful situation ever, right? I go like my thinking always goes to this 4X model, right? The salary times 4X. That's what I'm looking for to get out of all my guys to win a GPP. And over this 8K range, right, you need a 32-point floor for most of these guys to hit 4X plus. And it's difficult, right? Like, because the game can go away where they get them all the way on the goal line and the running back just starts snaking touchdowns and there's no way you're getting that 4X. So I don't like paying up personally, but
I don't either, Joey, but I think this week is the week to do it. Because if you look at each of those situations, like, let's talk about that for a second. Kansas City doesn't jam the ball and like jam it to the running backs. Philadelphia, that's all they do with the fucking tush push. And once they get inside the 4, they don't even consider giving it to a running back half the time. They just go, all right, well, we're just going to do this. They're really good at it. Why would they not? And then Lamar, you worry about him. He runs it in half the time.
Yeah.
So
no, it's fair. And Lamar,
I listened to something pretty interesting this week, Joe, that was just a good strategy breakdown from like a philosophical thing is like, think of it more like your pairing option and your quarterback. Like you have to 2v2 like raw points at the end of the day. So like you can pay down at quarterback in your stack, but then you've got to have your one-offs compete with a Kelsey or an AJ Brown or whatever to like balance that out or beat him. Right. So
no doubt.
If you're not getting there in that sense, like just break down the rosters more 2v2, 3v3, like look at it from just a raw point standpoint. And then it's a lot easier to kind of build your lineups. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's fair. If I was going to lean, I'm leaning Mahomes. I mean, Denver is a dumpster fire. KC, I mean, they just played them like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of wild. And they kind of shut down KC. I think they only scored like 19 points. That's not going to happen twice. Not in a 3-week span. So if I was going to lean, I'm going Mahomes. Just one interesting stat I want to say is Lamar Jackson against the NFC in his career is 16-1, which is just nuts. And me and Vinnie were talking about this the other day, and it's like these teams, they don't play against Lamar, right? They don't really have a game plan, whereas these AFC teams and the AFC North teams especially have these foolproof game plans how to beat Lamar. These NFC teams don't. And Arizona is not good. So it's like Lamar is enticing just from that standpoint. It's like if you look at just the raw data from the last 6 years of his career, 16-1 against a full conference is pretty wild. And Arizona is not a good team. So this is a tough one, man. I mean, if I'm going to go up, it's these 3 guys are all doable. It's hard to argue against any of them.
The other thing too that you have to remember is that all 3 of these guys, Jalen Hurts maybe not so much, but Lamar and Mahomes, their targets are so condensed. I mean, Lamar, it's Andrews and Flowers, and Mahomes, it's Kelsey, and then Maybe Rashee Rice. He's still low enough in price that I'm okay with that. But I'm with you, Joey. You guys see some of the fucking lineups that I send you, and a lot of the time it's low quarterbacks. But this week, I mean, I think that because there's a lot of games on the slate, I think there's enough value to be found elsewhere where I don't think it's something that you have to do.
I think your quarterback for sure this week has to get over 20 for like no matter the price tag to be like ballpark, because someone or multiple guys are going to go over 25, and if you get a few that hit 30, again you're just trailing raw points, right? Like you have to be in striking distance. So that's how I'm trying to look at it.
Yep, and I also love that Mahomes and Lamar are both in the afternoon games. That's always a sweet feeling.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's move on from those three. I mean, it's hard to argue against any of them. They're all in great spots.
So we're going down here, Joe. Let you get the first crack at let's say 6,000 and up. Who's your favorite one guy from in there?
6,000 up. I mean, I still, man, this is a tough one to be honest. All these guys. It's weird matchups. I'm kind of liking the CJ Stroud play. Carolina's really bad, baby. And CJ Stroud looks good. They're coming off a bye week. They've had some game planning. This game's going to be hyped up quite a bit. The quarterback versus quarterback, the 1-2 quarterbacks, going against each other in their rookie year. I think he cuts it loose, and I think Houston actually kind of dominates this game. But it's also kind of competitive where they got to keep throwing the ball in the second half. And Stroud's probably my favorite here. Just these other matchups just don't feel very good. All these guys are on the road, which doesn't feel good to me at all. I like quarterbacks at home. So if I'm going to go with one of these guys, it's probably CJ Stroud.
Okay. Vinny, who's your guy from 6,000 up range?
Man, I'm stuck between two guys, really. Like, I really wanted to play Tua, but New England does a pretty good job covering them, but I am going to play some Tyreek Hill. Just at Tua. Home. I know. So I have some moderate interest in Tua for sure. But I want to go back to Stafford here. I think this Dallas game could shoot out a little bit. Dallas coming off of a bye. They're at home. I think you look at ownership, like a lot of people, including myself, got absolutely burned by Cooper Kupp last week. I think people are going to kind of jump off of that. And this team and the way they run their offense without a running game, mind you, they're going to have to throw. And so it's tough to project. I think you got to double stack Kupp and Nakua if you hope it goes ballistic, but I don't know, man. I want to go there. Stafford's
just like, he's not throwing touchdowns.
I know.
Right? From 20 to 20, they are elite, but they just can't seem to get a red zone offense going. They're not. He's just not throwing touchdowns.
That's exactly what I'm like looking at, right? Because it's like Rob points again. He's like, he hovers around like 15 a game, which is wild because you see Kupp and Nakua go off, but they're just getting such a consolidated like target share that like they get there, but Stafford doesn't. I'm hoping here in a matchup like this where they don't have a running game, if Stafford could get you like 3 touchdowns, you're there, right?
Yeah,
like
you have to have 25 plus points here from Stafford, and that's going to be touchdown reliant. And this offense just hasn't shown me they can score touchdowns, and now they don't even know who they're playing in the backfield. It's just I don't know.
Yeah, my hope is again like Dallas isn't going to let them run that ball. They're going to have to get the ball out quick with freaking Micah Parsons coming at them. Like that's going to be a lot of passing and quick passing by Stafford. So
fair enough.
That's kind of the guy. But I'm with you, Stroud. I have ranked over him in my thing. So
the guy I like the most in this range is Trevor Lawrence. I think that the Jags are massively just underrated. I think Trevor Lawrence is starting to play pretty well. The Steelers defense isn't the Steelers defense of old. And I think a lot of people, especially a lot of like just more casual players that are playing a couple lineups, who a lot of those people play in the contest that we play in, right? Because they're not super high stakes, will not go to Trevor Lawrence. I like the run back options on the other side in the Steelers games for like a game stack. And I think that is a game that could sneaky go a little bit off a little bit this week. I'm torn between him and Joe Burrow.
I mean, here, man.
the play, the diagram, the roadmap is out there on how to attack the Niners. It's quick passing, right? He does that. He's got the guys to do it. He's got Chase. He's got Boyd. Those guys are really tough matchups for the Niners. I mean, you just saw the small, quick Jordan Addison tear the Niners up on Monday night, and I'm a Niners fan, right? But those are the guys that give the Niners the most problems. Jamar Chase, I think, is in line for a massive day. And again, you don't have to get crazy. You just play Burrow with him, and then there's all kinds of run back game options on the other side. So, I like that option quite a bit. So I'm kind of torn between him and Lawrence in that range.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. I just don't see how you can't. I will like him more, to be totally honest with you, if Brock Purdy plays, because I think that kind of revs that game up more. Hopefully, as a higher scoring game. So
Brock did practice today, and it looks like he's going to play. So I'm with you there.
Who knows what we're gonna get from Sam Darnold? I have zero confidence in that, and you know what I mean.
So we're talking about value. So now we're into the value range.
Let's drop it down, baby. Joe, what do you like?
It's funny. There's something that always kind of attracts me towards Jordan Love. They're at home. They're going against the Vikings. Vikings coming off a big win, right, on a Monday night game against a tough team. I always bet against teams that play against the Niners the week prior, because even though the Niners lost, they still do kick the shit out of people on the front seven. And, and they have less recovery time this week. Jordan Love, the first 3 weeks of the season, played really well. And then it's kind of all gone downhill since then. I mean, he still had a 17, 18-point game last week. I'm looking for about 23, 24 points from Jordan Love against a Vikings defense that blitzes a shit ton. This is just a great opportunity where you can go like Jordan Love with Aaron Jones as your stack and get kind of weird. And Aaron Jones is going to get some catches and potentially the receiving touchdown side of this, where when Jordan Love has Dylan back there, he doesn't really have that option to throw to his running back. So if Aaron Jones is back full go, I really like Jordan Love, especially against a Brian Flores defense, which sends 7 people almost every single play, where Aaron Jones is going to sneak out and have some big plays. So this is a place where I think you can get weird. I think it's going to get overlooked. You're going to get this guy low owned. Jordan Love is probably one of my favorite, low price guys this week.
God, he burned the shit out of me last week. Bad. But I see
that's
it.
why that's when you got to go back to him, right?
Yeah.
Like as soon as a guy burns you, that's when you go back to him.
I like the play. I like it. Vinny, who you got down here? Because I have one that I don't think you will have. I'll be surprised.
There's 2 guys that I really coin flip down here, and it's between Bryce Young and Desmond Ritter.
Okay. Ritter was my guy.
Okay, so we always talk about the Tennessee pass funnel, right? They just traded their best defensive player, who's a safety. Hello, Kyle Pitts this week, and Ritter is as bad as he is like a real life quarterback. He's not that bad.
He puts up fantasy numbers,
dude.
He's simply too cheap versus the defense that he's been playing. And if you go back and just what he's done so far this year, it's just too cheap. He should be. I mean, there's no universe.
He lost 3 fumbles last week, 2 on the goal line.
So
he still put up like 17 points.
He could have a 30-point game.
Exactly.
Easy.
I love Tyrod Taylor, and I love how he's been playing well, but there's no universe where Tyrod Taylor should be priced ahead of Russell Wilson, Desmond Ritter. There's no reason for it, right? So, and again, Ritter's not a sexy name. No one's going to play him.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that, we can't figure out the Bijan thing. Arthur Smith is just a complete fucking boob. But if you can guess and, predict one thing, is that Ritter is going to have the ball every single play. It's not like, okay, who's going to get this? Drake London's going to be out there running every single snap at wide receiver, and Kyle Pitts plays constantly, right?
Yeah.
So those are the 3 guys. And again, against a pass funnel, that's who I really like.
And it's so cheap is why I like it. Like the entire stack. We talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago when we were all together. Like Ritter, London, and Pitts is less than like Mahomes and Kelsey combined.
And I don't even
from a roster construction standpoint. So
I mean, you can play literally anybody. Like you can play McCaffrey, Kelsey. Like you can play any combination of two premium $9,000 plus players, and be just fine and have a fantastic lineup. I have one guy that I want your guys' opinion on this week.
Oh boy,
what are you guys' thoughts on Zach Wilson?
Hey, I was just going to bring him up. This is where, again, you can get kind of weird. Go Wilson, and Brees. You can throw the running back into the stacks. The Giants are pitiful. 4,800 is just too cheap. Zach he can absolutely hit. I mean,
so
I think it's a good play.
The Jets also give up, are one of the worst teams against the tight end. So if you're going to play that full stack, you can run it back with Waller and then that's it. You really don't have to. And as soon as Tyrod has come into the game and been playing instead of Daniel Jones, look at Waller's production. It's gone through the roof. That's a position where Tyrod likes to throw the ball. Wan'Dale Robinson is essentially a non-factor with Tyrod in there, but Waller's all in. And he's their premium target, and he's now being used like it. So I mean, at 4,800 again, I think it's just too cheap. Zach Wilson, if you look, has actually not been playing that bad, right? He just came off a bye, and I mean, it's gross, but I would rather play ultra high price quarterbacks or these guys down here. The guys in the middle, I'll be honest, I'm just not in love with this week.
Yeah, agreed. It's either high all the way at the top or all the way at the bottom.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment.
All right, let's move on to unless anyone is going to play Will Levis.
I did build a Levis lineup, and obviously there's nothing to say about that. Literally, he has no tape. It's a fucking shot in the dark. It is just a blindfolded dart throw, and hey, they might get their ass kicked, and the second half he just fucking throwing short routes and just getting a ton of yards, and he gets us there.
My only issue, Joe, is that there's quite a bit of talk that Willis and Levis are both going to play. So that would be it's stupid, right? Like if you're going to let Levis start, then just fucking let him start and play. Like who cares?
Yeah. You know what Malik Willis has. He's not good.
You're talking Malik Willis sucks. You have no idea. Levis could suck too, but like let's find out. But I mean, if he does get the majority of snaps this week, he's got some interesting matchups coming up. I'm not going to be playing him this week, Joey, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Yeah. It's just, again, GPP, get weird. You need 18 points to hit 4X with them. That can happen in all garbage time, right? You never know.
It can. 2 touchdowns, maybe he runs one in. He can move a little bit. So, all right, on to running back. I mean, I don't think we need to talk. I mean, I think at this point, Christian McCaffrey is a must play.
Yeah.
I don't care. He had a slightly torn oblique and was questionable all week. And then all of a sudden now, I mean, I guess it healed through him playing 98% of the snaps last week.
They dropped him 1 percentage point in the snaps share.
And now he's not on the injury report.
Yeah.
I think you just got to jam him in to as many lineups as you can. And it's why I either like playing the high price quarterbacks and jamming those guys, or you're jamming McCaffrey in with these low price guys. He's coming in right now at less than 10% ownership.
I was just going to say, I looked at ownership. He's at like 8. So,
playing the fucking Bengals. I mean, it's a must-win game for the Niners. And
I think you saw too, they're going to need to get him much more involved in the passing game without Debo in that lineup. And so, I mean, dude, we've talked about it before. His floor is 20. And like, if you give him 7-8 receptions, like the guy has 40-point upside. So
easy.
Yeah.
So we'll move on from there. Who in this
real quick,
go ahead.
Breece Hall is coming in as the ultimate chalk. I'm seeing like 35-40% chalk on this one.
Again, where you're getting your projections from are always wildly different than mine. I mean, I've got Joe Mixon at 20%, Hall at 19%, Pacheco at 18%. Again, it's Thursday night.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are
Wait,
all numbers.
how is Joe Mixon getting the highest ownership?
He does every week because everyone thinks his snap shares and target shares and everything are amazing. But the guy's like the least efficient running back in the league.
No, so everyone is continuing to bank on touchdown regression. That's what everyone's banking on is touchdown. He hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns. It's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, he scored one this year.
Not going to happen against the 49ers. He might get a touchdown, but there's nothing that warrants Joe Mixon being 5,800. The Niners' strength is their running defense. Their weakness is the quick passing game. You could argue that he's going to get involved in that, but anyway, in this like 8,000, 7,000 to 8,000, who's your guy, Vinny?
It is going to be Alvin Kamara. I'm just going to keep playing this guy because Derek Carr either throws it deep or throws it to Alvin Kamara every time.
As long as Derek Carr is in at quarterback, you have to play Kamara every week.
He had 14 targets and 12 catches.
No, guys, he has 35 catches in 4 games.
I know.
As a running back.
That's insane.
Derek Carr.
And then you put in the mix that he's not rotating really at running back, so he's getting 18 touches on the ground.
He has 105 touches in 4 games this season.
His price tag should be up there above like 8,500 at this point.
Yeah.
So yes, he's my favorite.
All right, that's my favorite too. So Joe, is there anybody else in here that you're really looking to play?
I love Kenneth Walker, but he's dealing with a calf, and
he hasn't yet to practice this week,
which I'm not liking. Ooh. But that would have been my guy. Otherwise, I want to go down. Kamara, I'm with you guys on that. ETN is where you can maybe get weird. ETN's been very good, but people are always scared of the Steelers' defense. Steelers' defense is very good, but ETN is also very good. And Jim, like you said, this could be a game that kind of shoots out in a weird way. So ETN's definitely interesting.
He was my second guy from this range.
I just feel like you can get kind of weird with ETN. Like there's gonna be a lot of people that avoid him this week, and they're gonna regret it. He might break off a couple.
He is the highest leveraged running back on the slate this week. He's only being owned about 6% right now. ETN. Mm-hmm. And he's showing up. He's showing up in the optimal lineup 15% of the time. So he's 9% optimal leverage, right? Good. So I agree. I looked at that, Joe, and it was like, man, like I don't really, and then that's what kind of led me to the Lawrence thing, right? So that's the ETN leverage and his situation. And again, the tank or whatever, the Tank Bigsby or whatever the fuck that guy's name is, that guy sucks. He's not playing at all, basically. And, it's gone on like, oh, this is going to be a timeshare to ETN getting, 80 to 85% of the workload. So I'm all good with that. Joe, who's your guy going below? Let's say, your favorite guy here, maybe like the 6s and high 5s.
Yeah, I already talked about Aaron Jones. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to play Aaron Jones by himself, but if I'm playing Love, Aaron Jones is in those Love lineups. But guys, I love Pacheco. He is. With this offense, like we talk about, it's Mahomes, it's Kelsey. It's Mahomes, it's Kelsey. But the third guy is Pacheco. This guy is averaging 15 points a game since the beginning of the season. In the first 2 games of the year, he got like 8 points and 9 points. So his last 5 games, he's been absolutely tearing it up. And he's not even getting that many carries. He's getting like 15 carries. He's just doing a lot with those carries. He's actually getting a lot of catches too, because Mahomes does not trust his receivers at all. If Kelsey's not open, his secondary is Pacheco. And if you guys, not you guys, but the people listening, if you watch football, if you know football, typically the coverage on the tight end relates directly to the coverage on the running back. And if they're going to double cover Kelsey, Pacheco is always going to be open because it's going to be somebody that's not supposed to be covering him is the one covering him. And Pacheco is just very explosive. When he gets the ball, it's him. Right. So Pacheco's my favorite. He's way too cheap in a very high powered offense. And again, Mahomes just does not trust anyone else. It's Kelsey and Pacheco, in my opinion. It's not even Rashee Rice yet.
Well, even like the running back just rotation, right? Like Pacheco's seeing like 90% of the workload there. So yeah, he's a fantastic play at that price tag. Another guy that's just so underpriced. So
yeah, he's got 10 catches in the last 2 games with a receiving touchdown, right? Like you start putting in those receiving stats with Pacheco, and it's like, okay, we can really get something going here. He has an explosion game in him. So I like him. He's too cheap.
Yeah, I like that play.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on him a lot, but I'll just mention him again. Breece Hall is my favorite guy down here. Yeah. 5,900 for the workload that he's now getting, the poor defense that he's playing, and his ability to just pop massive, explosive plays, just like kind of Christian McCaffrey. It's the reason why, if he was healthy, he would have been going in the top 10, top 12 of fantasy drafts this year. He's healthy. There's no reason. I guess he gets the stink of the Jets, but coming off a bye week, playing the shitty Giants, and in their home stadium, it's both their home stadiums, but like whatever. I don't know. He's a guy that I'm not even going to look at ownership this week. He's a must play in basically all of my lineups. Like, I'm just going to jam the shit out of Breece Hall this week.
You like him more than Pacheco?
Yes. Just because I think that Denver game could get out of hand. I don't not like Pacheco. I will be playing some Pacheco, but I like Breece Hall a considerable amount more. The Jets are, you could say the Giants suck and everything like that, but the Jets have earned no credit of like they're going to blow somebody out. And they might blow these guys out, but even if they do, I think Breece still gets a fair amount of carries.
Yeah, I think the Jets are
not involved.
Well, I just think the Jets are playing it smart, right?
Dalvin's washed.
I saw him complaining today that he's unhappy with his role. So, but whatever. I mean, I still think very much like that's why I'm a little bit like unsure on Zach Wilson, because they're like the Jets just want to get the lead and clamp down and like take the win.
Do.
Right? You know, so they're not going to be out there like trying to show his Zach Wilson off. If they have to, they will. But like, dude, if they can just run the ball and beat this team, they'll get out of there with a win happily.
100%.
So I love Breece Hall as well.
Any interest in anything lower? I've got one guy, but I'll defer to you guys down here if you have anybody.
I do. I'm not playing him, but I really want to play Bijan. But like you said, I said it last week on the group text, and I'm going to stick to it. You cannot play Bijan with this coach.
But his price dropped to the range where it should be based on the production recently. Because you're right, Arthur Smith last week. I mean, we can just chalk that up as a fluke. He had a migraine headache, whatever. But even when he doesn't have a migraine headache, he's giving Algiers the ball on the goal line. Bijan's more productive as a receiver right now than he is a running back. Arthur Smith does not trust him as an actual running back. He puts him in the slot, and that's where Bijan actually gets his work.
Yeah,
Bijan is the ultimate GPP play for like giant tournaments, where like at some point he's going to have like a 65, 70-yard touchdown, right? Totally. It could be on a screen. Mm-hmm. It could just be on a run. It's just going to happen. And against a shitty team this week, in my larger field, like single entries, I'm definitely going to have some of him, but I'm not going to be playing a ton of him, but he's the guy that, it's just crazy. So my guy down here is Miles Sanders. He's healthy again. They're playing, Houston, who, they have a decent defense, right? But they are going to try and take as much pressure off of Bryce Young as humanly possible, right?
New guy play calling this week.
He's back healthy. They're gonna kind of get back to what was working for them early in the season, I think, which is giving Miles Sanders a fair amount of carries. And he's at under 5,000. He's priced the same as Elijah Mitchell, who may not touch the ball once for the Niners. So at 4,900, like for a guy that is going to probably get 65, maybe 70% of the carries in this game, I'm fine taking a chance on that.
Yeah, the only guy that I have a lot of interest in down here as well at 5,200 is Kareem Hunt. He's going to be the guy in Cleveland with Jerome Ford. Doubtful he's not going to play.
He's not playing.
I like that Kareem Hunt kind of has that Q tag next to him as well. It was limited.
He is for sure playing though.
He's gonna be the only guy in that backfield, and we know Kareem Hunt is gonna catch a lot of balls. He's gonna be at the goal line. At 5,200 for a guy who's gonna be the bell cow back. Yeah, I'm gonna take that against Seattle for sure.
All right, let's move on to receiver.
Let's do it. Man, there's a lot of good expensive.
I mean, we already talked about a fair amount of these guys.
We did. We talked about Cup. We talked about Chase Brown. Are you guys gonna play any Tyreek?
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think there's enough value at quarterback and at running back, like we talked to, that you can play some Tyreek. Even if, like Joey said, I kind of like that, not playing Tua, but just accessing, that value and just playing Tyreek and then as a one-off somewhere.
Yeah.
I also like the mini stack of Tyreek and Kendrick Bourne together in the same game without the quarterbacks. I'm going to be playing some Tyreek, but I'm also going to be playing quite a bit of Jamar Chase. So
yep. I was able to fit in a Tyreek and a Cooper Kupp lineup.
You can get multiple.
You can do it.
Guys easily.
You can get there this week. Very easy. Go low at running back. Go low at quarterback. Go low at tight end. You can get all these top receivers.
Let me ask you, because he's basically a receiver. So let's just talk about him now. Would you play Kelsey or Chase if you had to pick one?
Kelsey.
Yeah,
you would. Okay,
he's cheap. He's cheaper
until a defense decides to not play zone coverage against him.
Yeah,
you play Kelsey.
Yeah,
so he's not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
but again, you can play both of them in the same lineup.
Yep,
you can play Mahomes with Kelsey, and you can play Jamar Chase in that lineup if you think that he's the expensive receiver to go get. Because again, at 8,100, in my opinion, he presents the same sort of upside that Tyreek Hill does, but for $1,400 less. Okay?
I think where it gets tricky is if you feel like you need to jam McCaffrey, right? Then
yeah,
three of them in becomes tough.
Well, then if in that situation, I'm just playing McCaffrey and Chase with a cheap quarterback.
Yeah,
that's where you play Ritter. And then you can play McCaffrey, Chase, right, and then Drake London, and then you could do whatever you want to from there.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
What are your guys' thoughts on CeeDee Lamb this week?
I'm just not a big CeeDee Lamb guy. That might be my Dallas bias. I don't know, man. I just don't like Mike McCarthy. I don't really like.
Here's what I don't. This is what I don't like about CD. Right, out of his 6 games he's played this year, he has 2 games with 143 and 117. He has 3 games 53, 36, and 49 yards. It's just it's so boomer bust. He has 1 touchdown on the season. His quarterback is Dak, and it doesn't seem like he's a priority in the offense. Dak is trying to play the full offense, let's go through all my reads and my progressions, and it's no, give it to your best guy, you idiot.
So that's kind of my point, where everyone is screaming, "Oh, TD regression for Mixon." I think it's easier to bet on the CeeDee Lamb TD regression, in my opinion. We saw last week Kenny Pickett kind of dice up the LA Rams passing defense. It's not very good. If you can take care of Aaron Donald, which you can, right? The Rams really have nothing else in the form of a pass rush, right? And that's where Dak kind of likes to excel. And in a game coming off a bye week, and they've kind of talked about it a little bit. You got Jerry Jones saying, "Yeah, we need to get CD going a little bit. He's the superstar on our offense." I'm going to be playing some CD Lamb this week, and I think it's going to be one of those situations where I think the projections are greatly underrating what he's going to do this week. He's priced up, so a lot of people don't want to play him. People would rather play Puka. I guess some people would rather play Waddle. I mean, I'm going to be playing a fair amount of CeeDee Lamb this week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if you want to go with the aspect of it, he's due, right? Touchdown regression, he's due. He is.
Yeah.
Because he's had some really shit games this year. And again,
100%.
it's just not entirely his fault. Actually, no, it's probably none of his fault.
No, he's really good.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think it's going to be a situation where they're just going to say, fuck it. We're just kind of trying to force him the ball and get him going a little bit. The flip side to that is there's not a lot of other, to play devil's advocate, there's not a whole lot of other threats in that Dallas passing offense.
No.
So it's really easy to just kind of go the other way. But yeah, that's my guy up there.
Okay.
What are your
Vinnie,
guys'
anyone
thoughts
in this
on?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask what you guys' thoughts on Ayuk are being priced up at 7,000.
I don't know, man. I was really, really disappointed with them not. The guy was clearly uncoverable, and they just completely went away from him because of Kyle Shanahan's system. Like he's going to have spike games. He's going to have amazing plays and everything else. If I'm paying that price tag, I want a guy that's going to be completely featured. And fortunately or unfortunately, it's Christian McCaffrey featured, and it's not Brandon Ayuk. So I'm not doing it this week personally. But
yeah, and I feel like Ayuk is, and if Ayuk is featured, it's in between the 20s, not when they get in the red zone. Why? I don't know. But it's just if I feel like he doesn't get those targets in the red zone. It's always like
I have no idea why.
He always has these great plays on the 50 or the 40, but it's never in the red zone.
All right. I just was curious. I mean, the numbers are popping really well for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's showing up in the optimal almost 18% of the time, which is huge, and is being owned less than 10%. So the problem is there's so many other guys that I want to play.
Yeah.
It's like you said, Vinny, it's tough. It was last week an aberration. Will they go back to him this week? I don't really know.
A guy I am going to go right back to until he proves me otherwise, and I don't care about the chalk, is Adam Thielen at 6,600.
Oh, totally.
The guy is getting
– I just love the game.
He's getting every target. And until he's not,
Well, it's because he runs the routes that are easy completions to Bryce, and he's like a Kamara play, right? Like Bryce is clearly they're not going to ask him to push the ball down the field. They're going to run the ball with Miles Sanders, and when they need to throw the ball, they're going to throw him those intermediate routes. And I mean, he's getting. I think his floor is 8 to 9 targets, right?
I know it's absolutely wild, but I'm just going to keep playing them. So,
all right. So going down here, is there anybody? We talked about a lot of the wide receivers in the stack. Is there anybody else in this?
Yeah, I think Michael Pittman's a great one-off since Gardner Minshew's at quarterback.
That's fair.
He's just. I mean, 2 games ago he had 14 targets. Last week he had 2 catches for 82 and a touchdown. I don't know. I just feel like he is that guy he's going to. I mean, who else? I mean, I love Josh Downs with Indianapolis as well, and he did go off last week. But I feel like with Gardner Minshew, the cool thing is it's like when he reminds me of Ryan Fitzmagic when he was playing, or that kind of Taylor Heineke effect where he fucking goes for it, and he gives his receivers chances. And Michael Pittman's one of those receivers. If you give him chances, some of those plays are going to turn into huge plays and touchdowns. And yeah, Michael Pittman at 6,500. People I think are scared of the Saints defense because they're, have good stats or whatever this year. They're still not good, right? Their offense just holds the ball forever. So it helps the defense. But Michael Pittman, 6,500. I feel like I want to play him a lot this week just because of Gardner Minshew.
So one guy I really want to play in this high fives, and it doesn't feel great at all, but I think I'm going to take a few shots on T. Higgins. He presents the same potential go nuclear game in the same matchup why we like Chase. The Niners are complete morons, and so is every team if they don't roll coverage his way. I know you're not going to stop Chase, but there's no one that can cover a 6'5" T. Higgins on the Niners. I'm not hoping this happens. Obviously, he's a fan, but he's going to have opportunities for big plays. Yeah, and he's been completely irrelevant all year. He had that rib injury, came back and played against Seattle, had the bye week. He should be healthy. I'm taking some shots on T. Higgins this week.
Okay, that's fair.
A guy I've been on all year. He's on both my year-long fantasy leagues. I play him every single week in DFS, and it's done really well for me. It's Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is averaging 15 points a game.
Awesome.
After his dud of a first game, he has 25, 15, 16, 15, 14, 20, right? It's just really consistent, and to the point where Calvin Ridley, for the first time, his salary has actually dropped below Christian Kirk. They're both, 59 and then 5,800. This is a game that can go off against a Steelers defense that they're known for their pass rush, but their secondary is not good. And Christian Kirk gets the quick passes. He can turn some big plays around. Christian Kirk, I'll line him up again. He's been really good to me this year, and I'm going to keep rolling with that train.
So it's a really strange thing. If Zay Jones, the games that Zay Jones plays, the guy you want to play based on the numbers is Ridley. When he doesn't play, it's Kirk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I kind of like Ridley just because of what Joey Porter Jr. said to him.
Well, I mean, he's good,
Dude,
right?
That like little narrative stuff does matter, though. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hilarious, but I don't know.
I mean, also, like I'm just looking up here. I haven't really looked at what Zay Jones is questionable. Didn't practice Thursday, so he hasn't practiced at all since leaving the game in London. So, if he doesn't play, I'm just going to go to what the tendencies have been, and I'll play Kirk. But Ridley is interesting. But again, it's just one of those guys where I would probably rather play Zay Flowers. I really don't even care about the ownership over him. I also would probably rather play George Pickens.
Yes,
over Ridley.
Dude. Even Nico Collins. Nico Collins is a top 7 receiver so far this year, right?
Nico
Stroud. I mean,
yeah, Nico Collins has been amazing. I do think Tank Dell coming back is a good play at 4,900 as well.
Yeah, Tank Dell is coming back. That's definitely an interesting one. Everyone
keep playing Josh Downs too, the other rookie.
So everyone's going to Jordan Addison after last week. That's just an easy fade spot for me, especially I think that that game is being played outside in Green Bay, right? Yes. Or is it at home?
It's in Green
Bay.
So Kirk outside is completely different. I'll pass on Addison last week. He did great for me in Showdown on Monday night. I played him all over the place because, again, the quick, fast receivers give the Niners problems, right? But he is going to be probably my fade this week just because there's other guys down there like Collins, like Pickens that I would rather play.
Courtland Sutton's another one, right? He's obviously Russell's favorite red zone target, and the thought is that they're going to be playing from behind, and Russell might throw the ball 45, 50 times this game.
Yeah.
And Courtland Sutton at 5,300, I mean, he's gotten some serious points here in the last couple of weeks.
And it's a weird price because he's cheaper than Judy.
Yeah.
I mean, Judy's playing like 50% of the snaps. Like, I'm with you right there, Joey. He's my guy that I'll be running back all my Chief stuff with. If it's not him, I mean, I guess you could try and force in Marvin Mims, but that honestly just might be a 0.
It could
so
be.
If you're cool with taking a 0, then you could play Marvin Mims, but
he's pretty much a 0 every week.
And Courtland Sutton might have like 5 points in the first half, and we're punching ourselves in the dick. And then the fourth quarter, he just rallies off, 20 points because he's getting every catch. I mean, because we're behind by 3 touchdowns. So Courtland Sutton's, I don't know. I feel like he's like the easiest play. You just got to throw him into lineups this week. Playing behind, he's Russell's favorite target, favorite red zone target. I mean, it all adds up. The price doesn't make sense. I mean, now I'm thinking about it. He might be like my favorite receiver play, below like the 7K range.
Yeah, I don't hate that, Joey. Going down a little bit more, let's go, 5,000. We talked about Rice. I think we all like Rashee Rice quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Downs already. We like him. The value wide receiver. I mean, I think that if DK Metcalf doesn't play, I think Smith and Jigba.
No, DK is all in. He's not even on the designation anymore.
Okay, but now Lockett hasn't practiced all week too.
Yeah,
of course.
So, and Lockett really hasn't done anything JSN started to have some decent games against Cleveland, who has a better run defense and a pass defense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have some interest there. It's only 4,300, so I'm fine with taking a shot.
What about Jake Bobo?
Yeah, I'd prefer to play Bobo over JSN.
No, thanks. I'll play JSN for Jake Bobo, who caught like the circus fucking touchdown catch last week. But I will say one thing about him: when he's in, he produces. He doesn't play a lot though.
He does produce.
My guy down here
is
a
stud at UCLA.
My guy down here that I honestly might have in 50% of my lineups is Kendrick Bourne. He's dominating the targets. They're gonna be having to throw the ball versus Miami, and he's 3% owned right now. I mean, I think that his floor is 12 points, in my opinion, right? So yeah. I don't understand. Like, people want to go back to Jordan Addison, and we've got Bourne who's gotten 25 and 16 the last 2 weeks. That's not going to change, right? Like, he is the guy there. You know, they're trying like DeMario Douglas and all these other random fucking guys. Kendrick Bourne is not a sexy, like, superstar player. But again, Mac Jones doesn't throw the ball super far down the field. He'll take those, you know, check downs. And in the fourth quarter, when Miami is most likely going to be winning, Kendrick Bourne could have like 10 or 11 points. And then you look up and he's got 22. Yeah. Right. So he's my guy at 4,700. Way, 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 way too cheap, in my opinion.
I will say, DeMario Douglas, the one thing is last week, he looked good. Like, we talk about players are like, okay, this guy belongs. It's kind of obvious. And DeMario Douglas, I know the Pats had kind of, I don't know if it was an outlier week, right? They played really well last week. And DeMario Douglas looked good, right? Every time he caught the ball, it was like, oh shit, who's this guy? Yeah. Like, where's he been? Like, because the Patriots have zero spark on that offense. And every time he got the ball, it was like, okay, maybe there's a little spark here. I just don't know if I'm going to just go right to him after like one game of that, right? Like, show me a little bit more before I get in there. But I'm keeping an eye on DeMario Douglas.
Yeah, the only problem with me is that he's another guy that just doesn't play a whole ton of snaps, as to where like Kendrick Bourne is out there every fucking snap, basically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the only two guys I have interest in down here dumpster diving is Rashid Shaheed at 3,900. He's just involved in that offense for New Orleans, even though Carr sucks. And then if you really need to do it, is Powell for Minnesota. Like, clearly the receiver 3 played a lot, got a lot of targets. Like, I'm playing him over KJ Osborne and those guys if I'm going to do it. You know, 3,200, even if he busts, right? It's not killing your lineup. So,
yeah, the only other person, again, I'm keeping an eye on. I'm not playing him. I don't want to just burn money, but someone we need to be looking at is Jalen Hyatt. He was the fastest guy coming out of the draft, and he's actually starting to look like, you know, he's not catching the ball when he's wide open. He is actually like fighting for the ball, and he's like making plays where it's like he's adjusting to the NFL, and he's looking pretty good. He had some explosive plays the last 2 weeks, and it's like this guy's starting to get comfortable. And at 3,100, he could be that guy that gets you, you know, the W that you're looking for.
I am just going to keep playing Rondale Moore. Ever since Connor got hurt, he's getting a lot of carries, and he hasn't been putting up zeros. Like, some of these guys down here could just put up zeros. I think that Rondale Moore is in a pretty good spot. The Ravens, they do have a good defense. They do blow some coverages from time to time, and I think that he's a guy that could maybe exploit that. At 3,400, I'm willing to take a shot. I don't hate your cheap guy there, though, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, they're just guys like, I don't know if I'm like playing them, but like I'm keeping an eye on them. Like, I'm ready to play them. They're in the back pocket. All right, guys, let's move on to tight ends.
Do it.
I don't get too long-winded here. We've already talked about Kelsey. I mean, Andrews belongs in every Lamar stack you guys do.
Yeah.
At the top here, we talked about Waller playing on the backside of those jet stacks. Very easy. How do you guys feel about Hawkinson and Kittle? Do you feel like Kittle's a valuable person this week with no Debo, or is it the same kind of idea with Ayuk, Vinnie?
No, I mean, I have some interest for sure. I mean, he's been definitely involved. I would play him just kind of price-wise over Ayuk this week. Yeah, I have some interest, but obviously the lineup's got to be constructed that way and stuff. But I like him in that 5K range the most over Waller or over Hawkinson.
Okay. I mean, I really don't have any interest in some of these mid-range guys. I looked at Schultz a little bit. He might make it into my Houston stacks, but he's creeping up into like the 15% owned range, which is just a little too much for that. I would rather go all the way down and just play Trey McBride at 2,800. He's gaining a little bit of ownership right now, about 8%. But before Ertz went out, he was already playing about 50% of the snaps at tight end. So now that Ertz is out, I'm a big fan of Trey McBride. I'm going to be an even bigger fan of Trey McBride when Kyler Murray comes back. But at 2,800, I mean, we don't need a whole lot to get to 4x from 2,800, right? Like
exactly.
you need like 11 points. So, that's 3 catches and, a couple yards and a touchdown, right? Or it's, 5 or 6 catches and 60 yards, right? And that's not inconceivable against Baltimore. They're playing in Arizona, which I actually like that a little bit better. Arizona seems to be playing much better at home. That's a good environment for them. And again, we're clowning Arizona. They're not good. They've only won 1 game, but they do play, right? Jonathan Gannon doesn't shut it down in the fourth quarter and just trying to run the ball to get out of there. They keep throwing the ball. So Trey McBride is really, if I'm not playing the real expensive guys, which I have a lot of interest in this week, and Kelsey and Andrews and Waller are my kind of 3 favorites, then I'm just going all the way down to McBride.
All right.
I'm going
Defense?
right back to Dalton. No, I'm doing right back to Dalton Schultz.
So
The Schultzer, just saying he was on a bye week last week. I think everyone forgot about him. He's starting to get hot. Then the bye week, people forget about him. We're on the Stroud train. Stroud, Schultz, Nico Collins. Talk about getting funky in a lineup. That's one where you can take it down with some Carolina people like Thielen and Miles Sanders on the backside of it. And you can get really cheap, and then you're going up to those guys like Tyreek, Cooper Kupp, and McCaffrey that you guys want. So Dalton Schultz will be definitely a constant play in my lineups this week.
All right. Vinny, anybody else who we haven't mentioned?
No. I think we're pretty good there.
All right.
Cool.
Let's move on to the defense. Who are we looking at this week?
We got to start low. Let's work our way up. Who's the lowest defense you like? I got one.
Start it.
Vikings.
They
bring pressure. I know you're going to play them, but Jordan Love is just not very good.
No, he's not.
So
he'll
make
turn
a few
the ball
mistakes.
over.
Yeah, it takes a few sacks, throw a pick. The Vikings defense just causes problems because they bring so much pressure. They're going to give up some points, but you know what I mean? I'll take 2,500 Vikings at.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I didn't get that low. I mean, I like the Falcons against who knows what fucking Tennessee. I mean, I don't know why the Falcons aren't the highest owned defense out there. I know their defense isn't super good, but I mean, look who they're playing. I mean, it's going to be a timeshare between Levis and Malik Willis. I mean, I don't know how they're not, and they might get that way by Sunday, but they should probably be 20 to 25% owned, and they're like 8% right now. So that's probably my favorite defensive play this week.
All right.
Are you guys? Are there any premium defenses that you guys are looking to play?
I really like this 3K range, but I really like the Colts. The Colts are one of those teams. They just get shit started. They're a weird team, They're just like weird things happen in Colts games, right? And a lot of that has to do with like Gardner Minshew on offense, but I feel like always the team mimics the quarterback. And the Colts defense, they're averaging 3 sacks a game this year. They have 6 turnovers. That's 1 turnover a game. It's not great, but when they're getting pressure on the quarterback, they can get some turnovers. They do have a defensive touchdown this year. Again, do not believe in the Saints offense. Do not believe in Derek Carr. And I mean, and Derek Carr might get hurt and we might get Jameis and hallelujah if that happens. But I don't know. I really like the Colts at 3,200. They're a get weird team, and we're looking for get weird teams here on defense.
You want to hear a get weird situation here? I got one for you. When's the last time Mike Vrabel's team got blown out, even if they are like selling off assets? Doesn't this feel like they're playing Atlanta, right? Don't you see them like taking a kick back to the house or a punt, or Ritter, one of his 900 fumbles, like gets returned back for a touchdown. Henry goes nuclear and like Tennessee wins this game.
Yeah,
like, would that just be
trading especially after like trading their best defensive player, then all of a
that's
sudden
what I'm saying. Like, would that just not be the perfect Mike Vrabel situation?
My only problem is that they're 3,100.
I know, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I think they're just like they're going to be like 0% owned. No one's going to play the Titans because they just traded their best safety. Just watch. Something weird's going to happen in that one. Atlanta just sucks, dude. Like, I hate that coach. I hope they lose.
I kind of do too. My premium defense, and I'm shocked that they're 2% owned, is the Eagles. Washington is on pace right now to give up the most sacks ever in a season.
I keep forgetting about that.
Ever. They can't pass block versus anybody, and they're going to have to be passing during this game. Like, they might have like 10 sacks, and that sounds like an outrageous number, but I really don't think it is. Right? They bring a ton of pressure. They're a premium team, and like I think last weekend or like a couple weeks ago, the Niners were priced close to like 5,000. The Eagles should be priced way higher than 4,300 versus Washington this week. I don't care if it's at home. I'm happy to play the Eagles defense this week. That might be the player or the spot of the Eagles that I'm most interested in playing this week.
All right.
And that's it for me.
It's a fair point.
Bold calls.
It's time.
Who do we got?
It's time.
Do we have any special music, Vinny, for bold calls?
Oh.
I want to hear you get wild here.
Yeah, we're okay.
You just really threw Joe off in that one. Oh my god.
All right. Receiver, my bold call of the week is Michael Pittman Jr. is the highest scoring receiver this week.
Holy shit. So what's he going to go for? 35?
I think he's going to go. Yeah, I think he's going for a game like 10 catches, 140 yards, 2+ touchdowns.
Wow. Well, that's what we're looking for with bold calls, folks. Vinny, who you got?
I think it is.
It was the song.
It was. He just got him a little too hyped. It's what we talked about.
Just got a little fired up there.
CJ Stroud has not yet thrown for 3 touchdowns. That happens this week, and 2 of them go to Tank Dell.
Interesting.
Get
That's quite the bold call. I am going to go to Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller has one of those Kittle-esque spike weeks that I called a few weeks ago. I think that Darren Waller goes for 3 touchdowns and 30+ points.
Whoa.
Damn.
Well, we'll see if Danny Nichols comes back to the lineup. That might shoot it down. Hopefully Tyrod's playing.
Let's see if
Tyrod's playing. As of Thursday night, Tyrod's playing. If Tyrod does not play, I will change my bold call. So I guess I have to do like a 1B here. I'll say that
the music just keeps rolling, dude. How long does this go?
I'm not going to stop it. It just keeps going on repeat.
It's really incredible, to be honest with you.
Well, I can't stop until James gives us 1B.
I'll say 1B is going to be Cortland Sutton goes for 25.
Wow.
Hey, I like that.
With the trail
I like
load.
That. Dude, can you send me that song? I'm just going to play it on my way into work every day, dude.
Yeah, I got you. By the way, can we just say that Daniel Jones, it's not a head injury, it's a neck. Is he the new neck? Are we moving Mike Glennon off?
No, I mean, we said that years ago. I mean, his neck was banging in that picture a few years ago. Remember? It was just all juiced up and veined out.
Daniel Jones does have the most wild jawline I've ever seen on a person.
So neck 2? Neck
2.0.
Return of the neck?
Just mull it over the next couple days.
Return
I mean, he's had a 3-week neck injury. Like
Danny Neck? Danny Neck?
Yeah.
Danny the ostrich?
He's got to be. So, all right,
guys.
boys.
As always, like, follow, comment. You got at Joey Props, at Notorious VJL, and at JJ McIntosh.